Hello, Julie the Oracle here with a special midnight edition of a Departed Souls reading. So I goofed, you guys. I goofed. I had actually recorded a Departed Souls reading to be released today. Somehow, either I screwed it up or something happened and it got released like Wednesday when it shouldn't have been. So I thought I rescheduled it for Friday, but I couldn't tell if it was actually showing up. So I tried to delete it thinking I could reschedule, I was going to re-upload it and republish it, fresh, so people could see it. Unfortunately, I didn't realize I'd already deleted the video off of my phone because I'm like, oh, it's already up there. So, oops. Oopsie daisy. So I wanted to do a Departed Souls reading for Friday the 13th, but we're kind of having these big celestial events happening this month. So this is going to be your Friday the 13th / Ring of Fire Eclipse Departed Souls reading. It's a special. So it's going to be kind of a shorter one, but the basic question is, what do your departed loved ones, what do they, what messages do they have for you, basically? So I just pulled a few, and I'm looking at the bottom of the deck as well. I have the Two of Wands here. So with the Two of Wands, this card, he's looking at a globe, and I think that the first thing that came to me looking at this card was that some of you may be feeling guilty. You may have a childhood home. Maybe you had a relative or your parents lived in this home, and maybe now that they are gone, you are feeling some guilt about whether or not to take the home, or you're thinking of selling the home and moving away, getting a fresh start. It's okay. They want you to know it's okay. You don't have to grow up in the home that, it's got a lot of memories. It's nostalgia. But you don't have to deal with that. Your loved ones don't expect you to be like, keep up the home and save it and live in it, because it's kind of weird, isn't it? Do you really want to, as an adult, take over a house and live in it like your parents do? Some people do. But that depends. If you can remodel it and make it your own, that would be great. If you can't, but not everybody wants to do that. So they want you to know it's okay. It's completely fine. Should you choose to sell their home, and if you want to move somewhere else, they want you to know it's okay to live your life the way you want. So there should be no problem, with you doing this. That's the big thing that I get from this, because this is usually somebody, the Two of Wands, it can be about movement. It's also about creativity, passion, and attraction, desire. There can be opportunities here. I'm trying to think of what else it means. There's a lot of meaning to it, but that's exactly what I got from the card itself, is that somebody was struggling to make a decision on, do I keep my parents' house or my relative's house? It could be an aunt, an uncle, a sibling. Sometimes these things happen and you lose a family member. And I'm sorry for your loss. And I forgot my little trigger warning. These messages can sometimes make you cry. So have a tissue handy if you need to. But if these messages apply to you, your friends, your family members that have passed on, what you're going through, take what resonates and leave the rest. And I don't intend to offend or anything. I just want the messages to come through. And hopefully that you accept them with grace. And I want them to be guiding for you from your loved ones, but I also want them to bring you comfort. Because it's kind of comforting to know, hey, they're not really gone. Your loved ones are never really gone. They're just on to a new adventure. That's the best way to look at it. So with that in mind, you have this Two of Wands here. So, and this could also be for some of you that are living, you guys could be choosing this choice to move and everything. Your loved ones could be saying, yes, yes, go. If you have an opportunity, like a new job or a new place to live, maybe your spouse has gotten an offer to go somewhere and you're like, oh, no, should we stay here? Should we travel the world? What should we do? Your loved ones are supporting you. They love you and they want you to go. They're like, have that adventure, seize the day. So you're getting a lot of support here. They're not going to tell you to stay unless you absolutely want to. Do what makes you happy. That's what they want you to know. We also have the Ten of Wands here. And again, we've got, how funny, these are all wands. All wands, except for the bottom of the deck. So there's a lot missing here. I don't see a lot of communication. I feel like a lot of this is just feeling is creative, it's movement, and I think a lot of this is your loved ones wanting you to move on. I mean, let's take a look here. So the Ten of Wands is like carrying a burden. They're telling me that, you know, and like there's a house in this one too, and then there's a close-up of the house too. So for this, I'm getting this general message that a lot of you that will find this message, it is timeless, despite the date and everything. It is timeless in that, like, if this message applies to you, if you're somebody that's struggling and you're like, oh, this house is a lot of upkeep, and I know my parents loved it, or my aunt and uncle loved it, or whoever loved it, but it's like, it's time to let it go. It's time to clean it up, you know, sell, donate, whatever you can. Keep what means a lot to you, you know, what's sentimental. And then if you need to sell the house, sell the house. There's nothing wrong with that. But, you know, as long as it's cleaned up and clear it out, you might sage it, you know, put some good energy into it, and the new people will come in and they'll fall in love with it. It's going to make a beautiful home for someone. They don't know who lived there before. They don't know the memories before. So it'll be them, a new adventure for them moving in. And your loved ones fully support you in that. And this burden of caring for this house, I also see a burden here in that you're carrying the weight of their death. Some of you are carrying a heavy weight because maybe you weren't on the best of terms. The Ten of Wands can speak to endings. Maybe you had a falling out. So I'm getting that message of, you know, you're carrying this heavy burden on your shoulders, this Ten of Wands, and you just like, you want to set it down. They're telling you it's okay. You can set it down now. You don't need to carry it. They're like, whatever was said, it's done and over. Don't even worry about it. Like, all is forgiven. It's water under the bridge. You're like, I'm over here now. I'm learning. I could have been better myself. You know, don't take it all on yourself. Don't take that guilt on. This is for you. So go ahead and put down that Ten of Wands. Let the weight come off your shoulders. And if you're feeling burdened by this relationship, you don't need to anymore. It's time to release it and let it go. Maybe I suggest doing a balloon release, or, you know, trying to think. You could write a letter. You could write a letter to this person, and you could tell them everything you felt about whatever happened in an argument or the falling out or whatever it was. And you can end it by going, you know, I love you, I forgive you, that's it. You're doing it for yourself more than anything, but then you can burn it. And it kind of releases it to the universe. And it's a good way to let them know that, hey, you know, we're going to let this go between us now, because there's no point in hanging on to old wounds and anger and trauma and things from people. You've got to find a way to heal. It's not only healing for you, but I think it heals them on the other side as well. And I think they can appreciate that, because it can be a lot of guilt knowing I never got to say sorry to that person. I never got to say goodbye to that person. So it goes both ways. So the Ten of Wands, yeah, don't carry the burden. Some of you may see a lot of fog or a mist. If you are experiencing active hauntings in that way, your house is haunted, or you go down to the basement, you're like, wow, there's a weird mist down here. I mean, that could be a spirit of some sorts. And if it's your relative, ancestor, whatever it is, just know that that is a sign as well. You might hear footsteps. Whether it's like walking across the floor of the house, or if you have stairs, you hear those footsteps coming up the stairs. You got those wooden stairs that make those creaking noises. It's kind of creepy. If you have a basement and those creaking noises, yeah, you'll hear somebody coming up and down the steps. It kind of freaks you out, but don't let it freak you out. Don't let it do that. And whoops, there is some kind of mosquito in here. I don't think so. I don't need to be stung. Good grief. But yes, I'm getting that. And then with the Nine of Wands is kind of about, you know, the hard part's done and over. Like, you know, the hard part, maybe you had a loved one that suffered like a serious illness. It could have been very long standing. And, you know, I don't know if this was like a long-term disease, or it could have been cancer, but I feel like it was very hard, not only for them to go through physically, knowing that they were going to die, but death has released them from that pain, that physical pain, so they're free now. but it hasn't released you from, the struggle of watching them go through it, and it weighs on you just like that 10 of Wands does. And here it's over, but they're letting you know that they're standing their ground outside your house. Or it could be inside too. But this is like a guard. He's standing guard. He's watching over. They're protecting you, watching over you. So if you're wondering where they are, what are they doing, that's what they're doing. They pop in and they make sure you're safe and everything. Some of them could have become guides for you. Some of them could be guardian angels. We don't really know who decides what after. If you don't have anything going on, then your loved ones most likely would have reincarnated. They can decide to do that. I believe that we have choices on the other side, and these are choices that they've decided to make. But I believe, like, for a lot of you, some of you are watching, definitely 9 of Wands is, it's definitely about that. They're keeping an eye on you and making sure you're okay. Sometimes when we grieve, they're drawn to that. They're drawn to wanting to comfort us because it's our emotional nature. And, once you get to a point of healing, that they can move on from that. And, they kind of want to protect you while you're feeling weak, while you're feeling alone and vulnerable. And they will be around. And you'll probably notice them around the house. You might notice that cigarette smell from the one, or cigars if they smoke that stuff. Or, if your aunt had perfume, or, this could be any kind of friend or family member, or if you're widowed, it could be your spouse. You might notice them messing. They might mess with you, turn on the lights or the TV or something. Like I said, you get footsteps, or, sometimes they're ornery. If you knew a prankster in life, they're going to, like, hide your keys and stuff like that. They might even open, like, cabinets and stuff. That depends. Sometimes that can be considered poltergeist activity, but they'll do little things like that to be mischievous because they know. They're like, hey, I'm letting you know I'm here. And sometimes, like, you turn on the radio and the right song plays. That's your little channeled message, is like, hey, I'm here for you. So keep that in mind with this. And then we have the bottom of the deck. I just felt like turning it over. And we have the Queen of Pentacles. And so some of you might have gotten an inheritance. That's the first thing that came to my mind. Pentacles are usually stand for money, but they can stand for relationships too, home, work, things like that. So you could have lost a coworker or something like that you were close to, somebody you would have called a friend. You also could have, this could be, I see like an inheritance with this card for sure. She's sitting in a pretty grand throne right now. So I don't know if maybe you had a loved one that left you an inheritance, or they left you some property, or, it could be some kind of antiques, something special. There's a cricket on the ceiling. Good grief. The crickets are everywhere here in Oklahoma. Sorry to get distracted. I just noticed that looking up. Whoops. But yes, the Queen of Pentacles, I think that speaks to a lot of abundance in your loved ones. It could be an inheritance for some of you, but for the majority of you, I'm kind of getting that the message coming through is that your loved ones are watching you be victorious, successful in your job, at home, in your relationships. Like, you're just all around getting yourself well balanced, and you're happy. And you're doing all right, and they want you to know, like, hey, they're cheering you on. They're happy for you. They're very happy with your success and that you're taking care of yourself, and they don't have to worry. They can just pop in and check on you and pop out if they want. And the Queen of Pentacles is very loving and caring. And man, this mosquito, where is this? You should die already. It's cold enough that they shouldn't even be alive. He's barely flying around here. Sorry about that. Always something when I'm trying to record. But yeah, they're very happy for you. They're very happy for you. Queen of Pentacles is loving and nurturing, so your loved ones love you. They're watching out for you. They don't want you to carry that burden. They're like, let it go. You've got life to live. So do it. And they're like, don't be afraid to take that next step, that adventure. Like, seize the day. Life is short and then you die. So go for it. Do the things that make you happy. If you get an opportunity that is not going to come around again, take it. But ultimately, it's your choice, your free will. Do what makes you happy if that's what you're meant to do. So with that said, I'm doing things a little bit differently. But I pulled a Halloween oracle, and it's the witch, the earthly weaver of the worlds. I love this. The weaver of the world. So she's weaving the worlds together. And this, it kind of makes me think that some of you watching are very intuitive, psychic. You could have mediumship abilities as well. You might be able to see beyond the veil, which is very thin. It's getting thinner as we get closer to Halloween, or I hope I say this right, Samhain. I don't know if I said it right. Forgive me if I didn't. Or is it Samhain? I don't know. Oh man. Okay. I'm sure you'll correct me, but I'm trying to be proper here. But we're also coming up on the Day of the Dead, and I think that's what, November 1st as well. So there's going to be, the veil is very, very thin at that point. So you might have more experiences. Your loved ones may pop in to see you, and you're going to notice them. Like, you're going to sense that they're there. And you're just going to feel either really good about it. It might creep you out a little bit if you're not used to it. But I think for the most of you, you're just going to be like, this is kind of comforting. It's like, I know you're here. And go ahead and tell them whatever you want to tell them. If you sense that they're there, tell them how much you love them and you miss them. And they'll appreciate that. And know that they're giving you that back. You know, that love is being returned to you still. And that, you know, they love you. They're watching out for you. And they're proud of you and everything that you're doing. So the weaver, the earthly weaver of the worlds, you know, the witch is bringing the two sides together. So some of you intuitive people have this ability to weave the two worlds together. Like, you're able to separate, you know, pull back the veil and let the two worlds collide, the other side and the earthly side. And you're able to send and, you know, transfer those messages from one place to another. So you might find somebody who can do that, who can be like, hey, you know, by the way, you know, your Uncle Joe says hi. Something, you might get something like that. Not everybody's going to have an Uncle Joe or anything, but I just, you know, thought that was kind of funny. It's probably somebody's named Uncle Joe. If you have an Uncle Joe, oh my gosh. All right. That's a possibility too. I don't think that these, I mean, I make jokes, but I don't think that these names and certain things pop in my head as a coincidence. I usually think that if I get songs and things like that, it'll pop into my head too. And I gotta say something. I don't know if this will apply here at all, but I've been getting the funniest stuff. I've been getting the Inspector Gadget theme in my head for a while. I'm like, who is sending me this message? I mean, that's not a normal song that I would think of, because I didn't really watch the show, maybe a little bit when I was a kid, but it never really was my thing. But I'm getting, like, the sound of Inspector Gadget in my head. And then it's funny, I got up the other morning and went in the restroom, and I suddenly, in my head, while I was trying to brush my teeth, I'm getting the, just the tune, the melody for Nickelodeon. I'm like, what in the world? I don't even watch this stuff. I never did. It's just weird. I'm getting the feeling right now that I'm not alone out here, and I heard something out in the garage. Like, I'm in a garage room with no windows, so, but I hear things banging around out there sometimes, and so I'm just like, what is going on? So I thought, oh, okay, the spirits are up to something, and they're going to be more active the closer we get to Halloween and the Day of the Dead, so just keep that in mind. And if you experience anything, if you start experiencing sights, you know, things out of the corner of your eye, or sensing things, feelings, smells, or the lights flicker, the TV comes on, or you just have a knowing about these things, and you're like, I'm not alone. Your body will tell you, and so trust your instincts on that and act accordingly. But if it's your loved ones, just know that it's your loved ones popping in to say hello, because this is the opportunity you get to do that. I have some channel messages. These are my Departed Souls channel messages deck that I meditated and came up with. It's funny, I just felt surrounded by people in my head, and they just gave me these messages, and some of them are funny, some of them are sad, but they're definitely messages that you all need to hear. So I got quite a few this time, so we're just going to do this for you guys. I get to remain true to myself, even beyond death. My personality stays with me. So I like that. I like that a lot. Don't worry. So if you're wondering if your loved one is still around, yeah. You know, the body is gone, but if they still have the soul and they still have the personality and the consciousness and the memories, they're still going to be authentically themselves. I think the souls remain true. So it's funny, they still have that personality. They're still going to play pranks or make jokes. So you're going to see that. You might sense that it's a way, or someone might say something exactly the way your loved one did, and you'll be like, oh, that was definitely a message for me, for sure. And then we have random phone calls and no one on the other line. Yep, that was me saying hello. So yes, that does happen occasionally. You ever get that ring? It's in there, like, it can be on a landline, but it can also happen on cell phones. You get that line and you pick up and say hello, and then there's nobody there. And maybe this happened after you had a loved one pass away. And maybe you like to talk on the phone. You had conversations often, and they're still trying to call and have a conversation, letting you know that they're still there. So appreciate that. Some of you may have known gardeners or people who just loved flowers, but this one says, plant some flowers to remember me by. I will help them grow. I don't know. I've seen magazines and stuff that have had articles about people who pass on, and like they tried to grow flowers and they wouldn't grow, but after their loved one passes on, then the flowers bloom. And it's a beautiful thing. Someone says, I still bake with you in the kitchen. You've improved tenfold. All right. Well, Grandma's in there, you know, making those cinnamon rolls. she's still in there baking with you, and she's really proud of you. Maybe you used to bake with a grandmother, or you baked with somebody, a parent. Maybe you and your sibling or a spouse used to cook together or bake together. It could just be something that you loved to do, and you were supported by your family and or friends. And if your friends really liked it, they're like, wow, you know, you can really bake, and they like to hang out with you in there. So they might drop in while you're baking, because maybe it's just a really happy time for you. I mean, I end up like getting really happy. Baking takes me to like a really nice place. So it's just a part that satisfies me and makes me feel like I'm accomplished and successful in a lot of things. So I love baking myself. But someone's in there baking with you. So whoever that applies to, take that. I don't hear that one very often. I drop in to check in on you. Sometimes you can sense me. There we go with the sensing. Yes, they drop in, they check on you, and you're like, I'm not alone, and somebody's here. But you get that feeling like, instead of being, it's kind of creepy at first, but then you're like, it's kind of familiar. And you feel like, oh, is that you? You know, and then maybe you'll sense them even more. I think that's nice that a lot of our loved ones will do that unless they've chosen to move on. You know, if they're doing something different over on the other side, or they've chosen to reincarnate, then that might be why you're not hearing from them. And this one says, my life was short and destructive on earth. This is okay, as it was my path, and I will have more lives and lessons to learn. Yes, it can be, that can be kind of rough. Some people have had loved ones who've lived a very destructive life, and maybe they had addictions, or they couldn't stop drinking or smoking, or excuse me, could be they got heavily into drugs or something of that like that. And I can imagine how rough it is seeing somebody on that and knowing that, you know, they may not survive, and you try to get them help and they're stubborn and they don't want help, and you know, it ends up in a sad way. They end up leaving the earth, but they're telling you that their life was meant to be short. And sometimes it is. If we do get to choose our lives and the lessons we learn, some people don't choose long lives. Some people realize that they have to live a shorter life, or they have to live a very hard life. It could be a way of balancing karma from past lives if you didn't have a good past life. But I really feel like they're telling you it's okay. It was my path, and I was meant to do that. So if you're sitting there going, man, they were too young, they shouldn't have died, you know, I wish I could have helped them. It was meant to be this way. And I know that's rough to say, but they want you to know it was meant to be that way, and it's okay. They'll have their chance. They'll have their chance. It'll definitely be a chance to live again and stuff. So they've got some lessons to learn. They have more lives, so they'll choose to reincarnate. And they may already have. If you haven't heard from them or had dreams about them or experienced sensing them in some way in the 3D, then I would assume they've already moved on. This is for someone special out there. hopefully it's not the majority of you, but for a few of you, it says, I'm sorry you found me that way. I know that some deaths can be a little more traumatic. Sometimes there are accidents. Some people will, you know, have a heart attack and die in their sleep. Their spouse wakes up and doesn't even realize that they passed on. You know, it's devastating because, you know, you go to bed thinking everything's going to be all right. And then you wake up and it's just like so traumatic. Your life is just altered suddenly, and it's very hard on people. And it's not just people who sleep, you know, like that. Some people have these heart attacks or they have a car accident and they're just gone. But in this one, I feel like this is relating to somebody who has passed, someone who passed away in the home from an accident or in their sleep, or I do get suicide, a trigger warning on that. You know, I know that's not easy. Some people choose to end their life and they move on. And whether they're meant to or not, like, it's all part of the plan, and they will have to learn a lesson on that and they'll have to rejoin living at some point. I don't know if they make them do that or if they decide to come back. Sometimes we just don't understand life. And when we end it and we go back and we're like, okay, I didn't realize that I was supposed to do this, this, and this. I felt miserable. And you're like, oh, I need to fix this. And so, again, we're balancing out karma, or we're having to learn lessons. I really feel strongly that this is kind of part of what life is about for humans. So they're sorry that you found them. They didn't want to traumatize you, and they didn't want you to feel so bad about that. And they hope that you'll seek help and that you will find a way to make peace and just remember the good memories you had with them. This person says, I was a terrible role model and a communicator. I should have done better. I'm sorry. So some of you are getting an I'm sorry. So, you may have had a rough time with a friend or a family member or spouse. You know, it was hard. With the role model, I'm getting more of a parent or, a family member that maybe raised you, a grandparent, somebody in a parental role. But yeah, they may have made mistakes or gotten into stuff they shouldn't, and they weren't good at communication, and it has affected you throughout your life. So again, I hope you sought out help for that in some way, counseling or therapy, to help deal with it so you can learn proper and healthy ways to communicate. And they realize that they should have done better. They're apologizing because they realize the error of their ways. They're learning. And so I hope that brings you some comfort. And this one says, yes, you see me out of the corner of your eye as a shadow, a touch, or when the lights flicker. Yeah, that's exactly what some of you are going to be experiencing in the next, by the end of this month. If the veil is thinning, you might have more experiences with your loved ones popping in. So it's going to, and try not to feel spooked by it. It's just how it is. And I think that's self-explanatory, honestly. Don't be spooked if they touch you and stuff. You're going to feel it. But I think that you'll have some comfort because you're going to automatically know who it is to you. Most people will figure it out pretty quickly. The afterlife is one big adventure. I think I mentioned this. I mentioned it. How big, like, the afterlife is a huge adventure for a lot of people. So I think I mentioned it in the reading. They want you to live adventure. That's what that Two of Wands is about. Planning, strategizing is part of it. But sometimes you want to be spontaneous and take a trip, or you know what? I need a change of pace. I'm going to change jobs, or I'm going to move. I'm going to do something I'm more passionate about. And the afterlife is also another big adventure. So they want you to live your life to the fullest while you're here, because it's a whole other adventure when you get over there. And somebody says, sorry, I scared your pets. So, that's funny. Yeah, they scared your pets. They didn't mean to. So if your pet jumped up and was like, looking and maybe growling a little bit, or the cat jumped really big or something, yeah. They might have dropped in to visit you, and your pets are just sensitive to it. So if you notice the pets acting, then you know that that person is there. And, if the pet's not overly upset with it, then it would be okay. Especially if they knew them in life, they might react in a warm way. I've seen pets react to spirits in different ways, so hopefully that won't happen again. This person says, I am okay and have found peace. Yeah. I hope that this is true. This should be true for the majority of your departed loved ones, because Most of them are okay. They have found their peace. Some of them are having to learn some lessons and do some healing on the other side. They may be preparing to reincarnate, or just take a break for a while before they do. So I think that's really nice. But they're letting you know they're okay. Things are peaceful. So that's definitely find comfort in that. I hope you do. And then this person, they've got some advice for you. It says, sleep more. You can't sleep over here. Enjoy it while you can. Yeah. Enjoy it while you can, guys, because this is what you want right here. I enjoy my sleep. I'm enjoying my sleep right now, but I'm so tired. I mean, they want you to seize the day, but they also don't want you to have sleepless nights and be worrying about them or, you know, life and everything. And then, oh, we got somebody with attitude here. This is one of these, this is one of your departed loved ones that's no nonsense. The last message we have says, I'm done with earthly shit. I'll pop in to check on you once in a while, but you need to live your earthly life, and I am currently living my second life. So they're quite happy with where they are. They're having a good time over there, and I mean, they're living their second life. You can't beat that. And if they're doing what they need to do over there, then it shouldn't be an issue. They want you to be happy and live your life just the way they lived theirs. They weren't worried about death and losing people when they were living. I mean, they probably grieved like anybody would, and they expect you to, but they want you to celebrate them. The best way you can honor your loved ones is by living your life and moving on and just keeping those happy memories of them. If, you know, whatever works for you. But I hope that you enjoyed this special reading. I hope you got the messages you needed. I will be posting this immediately after I'm done making it. So you guys should end up getting it by Saturday. All right, guys. Thank you for watching. Until next time.